When did history witness its first dogfight? Remarkably, it only took a decade from the Wright Brothers' first flight to the advent of aerial combat. Initially, planes were used exclusively for reconnaissance missions, which were surprisingly cordial. Pilots from opposing sides shared a mutual respect for the pioneering spirit of flight and would often wave at each other as they passed by. But as the strategic importance of air dominance became clear, these friendly encounters quickly turned hostile. The transformation from friendly waves to hostile engagements was inevitable. The first inklings of aerial combat were rather improvised and haphazard. Pilots started carrying an assortment of makeshift weapons, such as bricks and even grappling hooks, to damage enemy planes. It might sound something like out of a slapstick comedy today, but these were serious attempts to gain the upper hand. The first recorded instance of pilots firing at each other took place during the Mexican Revolution in 1913, involving two American mercenary pilots who were actually friends. Phil Rather and Dean Lamb were mercenaries who were hired by opposing factions of the war. On November 30th, 1913, the two met each other over the skies of Naco, Mexico. Rather was flying a Christopherson pusher and Lamb a Curtiss D pusher. Rather flew parallel to Lamb and got within 50 feet, pulled out his pistol and fired. But Lamb quickly realized that Rather had aimed well below him and his machine. So he drew his pistol and returned fire in the same manner, aiming several feet below Rather. The men did this until their ammunition was spent and a good show was put on for their employers. This is often recognized as history's first dogfight, but given that neither pilot was actually firing at each other, I don't believe that deserves such a title. It was a performance at best. It would be like equating the WWE with the UFC. So let's look at aerial duels where the pilots were intending to shoot down their opponents. The first recorded combat damage recorded, and the men who claimed history's first aerial victory, all of which happened within a few weeks of each other in the early stages of World War I. On August 15th, 1914, Miodrag Tomic, a Serbian pilot, found himself in the midst of the first recorded dogfight of World War I, and arguably the first dogfight in human history. While flying on a reconnaissance mission over Austrian positions near the Drina River, Tomic encountered an Austrian-Hungarian plane. As was common at the time, both pilots waved at each other, but soon the Austro-Hungarian pilot took out a pistol and fired upon Tomic, who quickly returned fire. The dogfight was a chaotic ballet of loops and dives, with each pilot attempting to outmaneuver the other. Despite the close quarters and a rapid exchange of fire, both pilots emerged unscathed and their planes intact, with neither able to claim a definitive victory. This early aerial duel, although inconclusive, marked the beginning of a new era in warfare, setting the stage for the development of more sophisticated aerial combat techniques and technologies that would soon follow. Within a few weeks of this combat, all Serbian planes would have machine guns attached. Just 10 days later, French pilots Roland Garros and Lieutenant de Berny made history as the first aviators to inflict damage on an enemy aircraft. Piloting a Moran Parasol, they engaged a German plane in combat, managing to hit it with their pistols. The German aircraft managed to escape by diving away, but not before one of its crew members sustained an injury. A few weeks later, on September 7th, Russian pilot Pyotr Nestorov achieved the grim milestone of being the first to destroy an enemy plane in aerial combat. In a desperate maneuver, Nestorov rammed his plane into an Austrian Albatros. Intended to be a glancing blow, he accidentally damaged his own plane. This dramatic collision resulted in the deaths of both Nestorov and the Austrian crew. The first true aerial victory, however, came a bit later on October 5th, 1914. French pilot Sergeant Joseph France and his mechanic observer Corporal Louis Queneau engaged in a German plane. Using a Hotchkiss M1909 machine gun, Queneau fired at the German plane, bringing it down near Reims, France. This marked the first time an aircraft was shot down by another aircraft in combat, a milestone that underscored the critical role of machine guns in aerial warfare. Realizing the effectiveness of machine guns, both sides quickly sought to refine their aircraft to incorporate these weapons more efficiently. The main challenge was figuring out how to fire a machine gun forward without hitting the aircraft's own propeller. Early solutions involved mounting guns on the upper wing to fire over the propeller arc, or placing them on flexible mounts for observers to fire in two-seater planes. The real breakthrough came with the invention of the synchronization gear. This clever mechanism allowed a machine gun to fire through the propeller arc without hitting the blades, revolutionizing aerial combat. Dutch engineer Anthony Fokker developed this system for German air service in 1915, leading to the creation of the Fokker Eindecker, the first true fighter plane equipped with synchronized machine guns. The Fokker Eindecker's dominance in the skies during this period, known as the Fokker Scourge, gave the Germans a significant advantage. The title of the first fighter ace is often attributed to French pilot Adolphe Pigot. By February 1915, Pigot had achieved 5 confirmed kills, earning the distinction of ace, a term that would come to signify pilots who downed 5 or more enemy aircraft. These early aces became the heroes of the skies, their exploits celebrated in newspapers and propaganda posters. The era of dogfights began just months after the first aerial engagements, leading to the rise of legendary fighter pilots like Albert Ball and the Red Baron. And if you want to hear about the one-man Air Force, James Howard, check out this video. See you next time.